Good morning, dear students. Now let's start our next lecture from the lexicology. Today I'll prepare for you some PPT in order to conduct my lesson. Okay, so the theme of today's lesson is phraseological units and its types. Let's introduce the outlines of today's lesson. So the first one is phraseological unit and its features. The second one is phraseological fusions. And the next one is phraseological units. And then phraseological collocations. Okay, students, let's first of all to answer this question. What is a phraseological unit? So, phraseological units or idioms represent the most picturesque, colorful, and expressive part of language vocabulary. Phraseology draws its resources mostly from the very depths of popular speech. There are some features of phraseological units. So, the first one, phraseological units are non-motivated word groups. We cannot deduce the meaning from the components. The second one, phraseological units cannot be freely made up in speech. So it means the phraseological units students are structurally stable. And the next one, phraseological units are reproduced as a ready-made units. Okay, students, let's take one phraseological unit. For example, the idiom white elephant. Do you know what does it mean, this idiom, the white elephant? So, white elephant is the idiom. It means very expensive but useless thing. For example, students, so in real life, there is no the white elephant because students, the elephant can be gray. Yeah. So as you see, this idiom is ready-made, and we cannot freely make up this idiom in our speech, and we cannot change the components of these phraseological units like gray elephant, yellow elephant, or red elephant, like that, students. And the next features of phraseological units is possessive stability of lexical components. And next, reproduce as single unchangeable collocations. Now let's move on the next features of phraseological units. Semantic and structural stability. So, students, what does it mean, this one? For example, we have the idiom red tape. As you see, so the red tape means is bureaucratism, students. And this is we only see the meaning of this idiom from the dictionary. So the meaning, I mean the semantic structure is stable. And the next one, idiomaticity, ready-madeness. And students, there are different structures of idioms, I mean the phraseological units. But students, the most common features is verb plus object. For example, to show one's this to somebody, or for example, any other than. So now, for example, here, bark up the wrong tree or kick the bucket. If you see, students, the most of them is verb plus object. Yeah? Okay, now, students, the next one, formed from three word combinations. So, students, this is the features of phraseological units. Now, students, let's move on the types of phraseological units. So, Students, there are different types of phraseological units, but according to the Vinogradov's classification, there are three big types of phraseological units. So they are, the first one is phraseological fusions, second one is phraseological unities, and the last one is phraseological collocations. Now, students, let's first of all, we will talk about the phraseological fusions. So, students, sometimes we call the phraseological fusions as idioms. So, what is the phraseological fusions? Phraseological fusions are completely non-motivated word groups. The meaning of the components has no connection whatsoever, at least synchronically with the meaning of the whole group. Idiomaticity is a rule, combined with completely stability of the lexical components and the grammatical structure of the fusion. So, student, what does it mean? At the beginning of our sentence, we told the phraseological fusions are completely non-motivated. What does it mean, completely non-motivated? So it means, students, we cannot understand the whole meaning of the phraseological fusions from the components. Now, students, let's see some phraseological fusions or idioms. So they are, for example, heavy father. So as you see, the structure of these phraseological fusions is adjective plus noun. And the meaning of this phraseological idiom, it means to make a mistake. The next one, kick the bucket. So what does it mean to kick the bucket? As you see, students, the phraseological fusions are semantically and structurally stable, and we cannot deduce the meaning from the components. So the kick the bucket means, students, to die, to pass away. So if we see the structure of these phraseological fusions, it's verb plus object. And the next one is bark up the wrong tree. And what does it mean, the bark up the wrong tree? Now, students, let's see the meaning of these phraseological fusions. Some examples, okay? Now let's see. So here, for example, bark up the wrong tree. As you see, the structure of these phraseological fusions, students, verb plus object, yes? So it means, students, to be wrong about the reason for something or the way to achieve something. For example, she thinks it will solve the problem, but I reckon she is barking up the wrong tree. Yeah? Okay, let's move on to the next phraseological fusion. Has a cat got your tongue? So, do you know what does it mean, this one, students? We have also Uzbek version this is. For example, something you say to someone when you are annoyed because they will not speak. For example, what's the matter? Has it got your tongue? So in Uzbek version of this idiom, tilinga talqon yopishganmi. The next one, drive somebody up the wall. If you see the structure of this phraseological fusion, also the verb plus object. So what does it mean? Let's see, students. To make someone extremely angry. So for example, my flatmate is driving me up the wall at the moment. So the next one, have an axe to grind. So what does it mean? To have a strong opinion about something which you often try to persuade other people is correct. For example, environmentalists have no political axe to grind. They just want to save the planet, like that. Okay, so let's move on. The next one, yeah? Let's students. So as you see, the second type of the phraseological units are phraseological unities. So what does it mean, the phraseological unities? Phraseological unities are partially non-motivated, as the meaning can usually be persuaded through the metaphoric meaning of the whole phraseological unit. So students, you see, sometimes you are confused why they are the partially non-motivated. So it means the meaning of the phraseological unities can be deduced partially. So we can guess some words' meaning, but not the meaning of the total phraseological unities. We have some hinting words. Now let's see, students, some phraseological unities. So, for example, students, here to show one's teeth. The structure of these phraseological unities, verb plus object. So, what does it mean to show one's teeth? It means to be unfriendly to somebody. Here, the word teeth is the hinting words for us. So we can deduce this phraseological unit's meaning partially. The next one, to wash one's dirty line in public. So, as you see, students, the structure of this phraseological fusion is also verb plus object. So, what does it mean to wash one's dirty line in public? So, students, it means to show off one's fault in public. Here, students, the word dirty lining and the public are hinting words for us. The next one, to lower one's colors. As you see, students, here also the word color is hinting words for us. To lower one's colors, students, means to make somebody upset. So the structure of this phraseological unit is also verb plus object. So the next one, to once the way the wind is blowing. So what does it mean, this one? So to know what to do, to know something beforehand. So it means, so the structure of this also verb plus object here, and students, the here the word wind and blowing and the word know is are the hinting word for us. So the next one, to stick to one's word. So it means to be strong about someone's opinion. The structure of these phraseological units also verb plus object. The last one is a small talk, so it means to chat, students. But as you see, the structure of these phraseological units is somehow different other phraseological units. So the structure of this is adjective plus noun. So students, then let's move on the next type of phraseological units. Okay, so students, as you see, this is phraseological collocations. So, to tell the truth, among other types of phraseological units, phraseological collocations are the most common type. And because we utilize phraseological collocations in our everyday speech. So what is the phraseological collocations? Phraseological collocations are motivated, but they are made up words possessing specific lexical valency, which accounts for a certain degree of stability in such word groups. In phraseological collocations, variability of member words is strictly limited. So, and here some phraseological collocations, students. So we know, students, the phraseology as a rule, the phraseological collocations are motivated, but most of the students are confused to differentiate phraseological collocations and the free word groups. As our previous lesson, students, we mentioned that the free word groups are completely motivated. For example, blackbird, or how can I say, yellow table, or white wall. They are the free word groups. So they are not the semantically and structurally stable. It means we easily change the components of the free word groups, like yellow table, white table, or black table, like that. But in the phraseological collocations, maybe they are motivated, but they are not completely motivated. They are structurally and semantically stable. We cannot change the word, we cannot change the components. For example, now let's see some phraseological collocations, like have an attack of high fever. So it means you have the high fever. The next one, take a liking. So as you see, students, the structure of these phraseological fusions also verb plus object. The next one, to make a mistake, to make haste. So sharp words or adversely affected. Here, students, to make a mistake, make haste, take a liking, to have an attack of hay fever. You see the verb structure and the structure of these phraseological collocations are verb plus object, but the last one, sharp words, this is the structure of these phraseological collocations is adjective plus noun. The next one, adversely affected. So here, adverb plus past participle to, and it means badly affected. So students, as you see, the phraseological collocations, we can deduce the meaning from the components. And there are students, some collocations and how can I say, some phraseological fusions and phraseological units we can see. And today we learn the features and the definitions of the phraseological units. Yes, as you see, and the types of the phraseological units. And I hope all of the students understand our today's lecture. So students, if you have any questions, please text me via the Telegram. But students, don't forget, do your task via the Moodle. Is everything clear, students? Goodbye.